I'm a 14-year-old British Yemeni. Let me tell you about that video you just saw. It's me, 4 years ago, giving a speech at my school's speaking competition when I was living in Sana'a, the capital of Yemen. It was a very competitive and joyful day for me and my friends, as we were all competing against each other. We had worked so hard for this competition, and we also had a big math exam coming up. I spent the whole day worrying about this test, as I had probably not prepared as much as I should have. We kept thinking all we have to do was pass these tests, finish high school, and then, like all teenagers, get to university and achieve our dreams. But little did we know that we would never make it to the exam the next day, and that our lives were about to change forever. It was 3 a.m. when I woke up in my father's arms as he ran down to the basement, the place in our family home which we'd hoped would keep us safe. I remember the house shaking as the airstrikes were happening, my neighbors screaming and yelling. I especially remember the windows breaking on the top floor of our home. Immediately, my parents turned on the TV to watch the news and understand what was going on, but I still had no idea what was happening around me. As we were all gathered around the TV, I began to text my friends to see if they could hear what I was hearing. Even though none of us knew what was going on, we had all been affected. We later learned that a coalition of 10 countries, led by Saudi Arabia, had bombed our city, and the worst of it was only a short distance from my home. At that moment, I realized our exams and actually our dreams for the future were now put on hold. My talk today isn't about the consequences of the conflict or what's happened next, because I'm sure people your age have access to news platforms and news mediums where you can learn about them. But I'm actually here today to tell you how important it is to talk to the younger generation, even about difficult topics like conflict, politics, and generally real-life situations, no matter how complicated they may be, as is us, the younger generation, who will end up taking up the responsibility and hopefully making change in the future. What happened next after that horrible evening was me and my family were lucky to be evacuated, since we are also British. But we left behind my friends and also my family. We came to the UK and I joined a new school. I remember on my first day at my new school, one of my new friends asked me, "How come you moved countries?" So I began to explain my story, telling her about what was the worst time of my life. As I was telling her my story, I was surprised by the amount of questions that she had. It was really because she had never heard of Yemen's war. Over time, I came to realize, how could she have known about Yemen's forgotten war when I myself am still confused about what led to the war that changed my life forever? And the answer was quite simple. There were no news platforms aimed at the younger generation, and those that do exist are not reaching us. In the UK today, 99% of 12 to 15-year-olds have their own access to the internet, in a world where over half of the world's population is under 25 and have never known a world without internet. The internet and social media is the go-to communicating system. On top of that, I noticed that most adults were discussing these topics amongst themselves rather than discussing them with younger people. When was the last time you spoke to a younger person about a serious conflict and asked them about their views on it? Did you brush off the conversation? Were you worried you might say the wrong thing? Well, actually, in order for younger people to feel engaged and empowered to understand what's going on in the world, we need you and news platforms to talk to us, use language that we understand, and take the time to explain them to us. Also, after talking to my friend in school and explaining why I had to leave Yemen, I saw real change in her. I nearly couldn't keep up with all her questions and actually struggled to properly explain some of them. A few days later, I saw an advert on the train about donating to support children in Yemen, so I told my friends about it. It started a conversation about my experience. For the first time, I could see how when my friends understood my story, they could relate and really wanted to help. This was a powerful experience of how better understanding can empower and encourage younger people to want to help. This example of the true value of peer-to-peer conversation really showed me how better understanding can empower and encourage younger people to want to help. In a global and largely internet-based society, social media platforms need to better support and promote peer-to-peer conversation. This can empower younger generations by connection. I hope today I have shown you that by connecting the next generation, we can empower future global citizens and global leaders. Knowledge takes away from being worried about saying the wrong thing. What I'm here today to say is that you can empower by connection, not only here, but globally. Action and awareness is also empowering and raises hope for people back in Yemen. I hope whenever anybody is seeing this talk again in the future, it is no longer the forgotten war, and my friends' dreams are no longer on hold. Thank you.